These are several hundred cardboard tubes, these are several hundred toilet rolls, and these are several hundred giant blocks. Because in this video, I'm building Ralph and Bella 10 incredible cat forts, including finally opening Bella's bakery. So let's get started.
Number 1.
I'm gonna kick things off with the cardboard fort, made from an absolute ton of shipping tubes. Hang on, there's another box. There we go. Bella's getting a little impatient. First I cut down some of the tubes for a staggered effect, then using the bay window as a guide, drafted the layout by just standing the tubes up. Once I was happy, wait, that's a really deep statement. Anyway, once I was happy, I got to work gluing, and this took forever, before adding the fort's name on the front, and crudely drawing a pair of shields. It's finished and it is glorious, and on the inside I've put a couple of toys. There's this scratching tunnel, and then this weird spiral thing which I'm not actually sure what it is. But what would the cats think? Well, at first, Bella was actually quite interested, headbutting it and rubbing up against it, but then she came over to me for some strokes. Eventually though, she did make her way in, heading straight to the scratching tunnel and headbutting that too, before deciding the entranceway would make a better headbutting spot. Ralph was initially indifferent, but when he did venture inside, well, Bella didn't like that at all, ferociously defending her fort. Poor Ralph. And then to add insult to injury, she decided it wasn't for her after all and left. I think this calls for some night vision cameras. First Ralph had a big stretch, then he had another big stretch, then he headed inside and had another big stretch. He's one very stretchy cat. Finally he had a roll around, sniffed the doorway and left. Then it was Bella's turn, and she also had a roll around. In fact, I've sped the footage up because she spent so long rolling on the floor like a complete weirdo, before pretending nothing had happened and walking away.
Number 2.
Next, a brick fort. This is a life-size foam brick, and these are 240 of them. I've been after any excuse to buy them for years now, so I'm delighted, even if they don't make very good dominoes. No! Anyway, first I drafted the footprint of the fort, then quickly built upwards, which was incredibly satisfying. It's finished and Bella's already having an explore. Oh, Bells! Good thing they're made of foam. After repairing the damage, I added some props for decoration, and since this is a building site, gave Ralph his very own high-vis jacket, which he hated, so I promptly removed. But surprisingly, they didn't hate the fort itself. Bella immediately headed inside, and if we speed up the footage, sat down blocking the entrance. Ralph would have to wait his turn, but when Bella plonks her butt down, she stays for a while. She's perfectly content to just sit there stopping Ralph going in. 3.5 whiles later, she did eventually leave, and Ralph wasted no time in exploring. He was a little too enthusiastic, however. Oh, no. And then to top it all off, Bella gave him a bop as he left the room, reclaiming her status as queen of the castle.
Number 3.
Some context. Ralph's favourite place to sleep is his teepee. I originally bought it for the catio, and neither cat was interested. But when I brought it indoors, it became Ralph's go-to sleeping spot. So assuming I can figure out how to assemble it, this next fort is going to be a giant teepee. Okay, it was actually pretty easy to assemble. Bella was first on the scene, sunbathing next to it. Soon she couldn't resist, nosily heading inside for a look around. But she was apparently unimpressed, quickly leaving again to return to the sunspot. By now Ralph wanted in on the action, giving it a brief once-over before turning around equally unimpressed. Well, I can't expect them to use it immediately. So it's now the evening, and I think Ralph is mocking me by sleeping on the bed. But Bella's in it! Wrong cat, but I'll take it. And doesn't this just look like the coziest place to sleep? I guess you could say she's sleepy in a teepee. And then... So it's the middle of the night, and that creepy shadowy blob monster is Ralph. I love how he has to get up and pretend he doesn't like it. I saw you, Ralph. I saw you sleeping in it. When I woke in the morning, he was still there, and still pretending like he hadn't just spent all night in it. Anyway, let's move from TP to TP.
Number 4.
Now this is gonna sound weird, but when I buy a new pack of toilet roll, I always stack them into a pyramid. It's incredibly fun. So I bought enough toilet roll to last the average human 2.5 years, and now I get to build something even bigger. The voices in my head are telling me to turn the tap on right now, and it's taking every fibre of my being not to do it. What do you reckon, Bella? Building this one was admittedly very fun, and soon the toilet paper palace was complete. I added a bath mat that kinda looks like Ralph, and I thought I bought 100 rubber ducks online to decorate with, but when they arrived they were all tiny. I put them all on anyway. It's kind of madness, and I can't help but feel like they're plotting something. Ralph was a lot braver than he usually is, but then quickly changed his mind and left. He must have changed it back though, because he soon returned for a roll around amongst the rolls. Bella was her usual exploratory self, and was also intrigued by the new mat. She then briefly inspected the back of the fort before contentedly trotting away. But it seems I had inadvertently created a fort that Bella loved after all, albeit under the sink. Why does she have to be such a cat?
Number 5.
Next I'm going to build a geodesic dome. This footage is from when I built a custom one a few years ago, which wasn't for the cats, but they both loved it anyway. This time, I opted for a kit to make things easier. Well, that was a plan. It did not go to plan. So I got Dan to do it. He's got the patience of a Zen master, and after meticulously laying everything out, effortlessly built it in seconds. This isn't even a time lapse, he's just that fast. It's finished, and it's now nighttime because the plan is to cover it with glow sticks. This took a while, but snapping the glow sticks was almost hypnotic, both the delightful crackling sound and the way they came to life with colour. And the finished thing was even cooler. How cool is this? This is mesmerising, genuinely, this is really, really cool. Whoa. Bella must have thought so too, drawn immediately inside as if by neon magnetism. She sniffed and headbutted the crossbeams, and then I thought it'd be fun to give her her own glow stick necklace, which she instantly figured out how to remove. She soon sat down, content to just gaze at the colourful lights. Ralph briefly joined her, once again a mere shadowy blob, but he tends to be pretty indifferent to these things. Whereas Bella's old and just likes to sit still, it's often hard to keep his attention, a personality trait Ralph and I evidently share. So Bella's busy enjoying the dome, and I'm busy enjoying this. Whoa!
Number 6.
This next one is going to be a good old blanket fort. I found this kit that uses plastic sticks and connectors, enabling all sorts of weird angles. It was surprisingly time-consuming, very fiddly, and very, very flimsy. But I managed to build something most of the size of my bedroom before I ran out of pieces. I would have absolutely loved this as a kid, but there's no way I'd fit inside it now. Ralph, you're a very lucky cat. I think Bella's hiding down there too. Hey, Bells. And after adding a ton of colourful blankets, it was ready for the cats to explore. Bella entered before I could even start filming, and it was quite exciting not knowing where she'd pop up. There she is. Hello, Bells. She sat down already. She likes it. Ralph, however, hated it, scarpering through it as quickly as his fluffy legs would carry him. He's really quite hard to please. At least Bella appreciated it, taking her time and having a leisurely look around. She then got distracted by one of the cameras. Seriously, look how suspicious she is. And left, clearly a little spooked.
Number 7.
Okay, I'm really excited for this one. Giant building blocks. I think this is going to be pretty similar to the bricks from earlier, except these ones lock together, so the cats shouldn't be able to destroy it nearly as easily. But first, I want to see how tall I can build. Oh, it's gonna go. Yes! Not very. Still, it was time to build the fort, and I very quickly found myself running out of bricks. I've already used up almost all of the 2x4 bricks. I've only really got those 2x2 square ones left, which means the rest of the fort probably isn't going to be the sturdiest. I used the remaining 2x4s to build a door frame, then built until I ran out of blocks. I don't love it. At the front here, it's all very blocky and not very well connected, and at the back, the coloured layers sort of failed where I ran out of bricks, but I don't think the cats will notice. Ralph immediately identified the weak spot and set about headbutting it, whilst Bella just wanted to sit near me. I think she thinks I have treats. I replaced the fallen block, then curiosity got the better of her, before once again heading back over to me. Oh, and then the block fell on its own. Amazing.
Number 8.
Next I want to build a fort in the catio. Specifically a bird-watching hideaway. I assembled a plastic goalpost, spray-painted it dark grey, then laid it down and covered it with camouflage netting. Finally I added a bird-watching book and some binoculars for good measure. Bella was vaguely curious, but she's curious about everything. She stood and sniffed the air for maybe a minute, then carefully tiptoed away. Ralph, on the other hand, was very unsettled. I can only assume it was the smell of the spray paint, but he really did not like it. But let's be honest, it's probably the weakest fort of the video anyway, so maybe he's just telling me to do better.
Number 9.
Last autumn, I set up an elaborate network of tunnels around my garden for my cats to explore. Both cats immediately loved it, even if they had some squabbles. And Ralph stayed out exploring literally all night. Since then, I'd been meaning to set them up around the house overnight to give the cats some more stimulation, and because it's really cool and fun. I'm not sure if it really counts as a fort, but I'm willing to bend the definition if you are. So it starts in the hallway. This is the only entrance and exit before there's a small loop around the lounge, and then through here, think Bella wants some food. It splits a bigger loop into the kitchen and dining room. So this is the kitchen. We've got a small offshoot here. It's very in the way, obviously. I've got a clamber over it. And then here's the dining room with another offshoot and where it connects back to the hallway. I think the cats are gonna love it. They did not, obviously. Bella investigated the entrance camera before toddling past uninterested. Then somehow she toddled past in the same direction again. I can only assume she jumped over the camera or something. By now Ralph was showing signs of interest, investigating the camera himself, before appearing inside the first tent and sniffing the entrance. From here he made his way into the lounge, again very interested in the smell. And doesn't this shot look like that iconic James Bond intro? Bella meanwhile was having a scratch back at the entrance, and when Ralph tried to leave, well, they had another squabble. It must be tunnel tradition. And that was it. Neither the hallway, kitchen or dining room cameras were triggered at all night long. I guess the tunnels just aren't that exciting when they're indoors.
Number 10.
Finally, I want to do something special for this fort. You see, last year for Bella's birthday, I got her a fluffy new bed, and this happened.
I'm making biscuits, so won't you make biscuits with me? I'm making biscuits, I'm gonna open a bakery. Ba-da-bum.
So almost a year later, I think it's finally time to build Bella's bakery. So I'm going to be modifying a kid's playhouse, but it comes in about 1 million pieces. There's clips, these giant plastic screws, real metal screws. It just looks incredibly complicated. So I got Dan to do it. I added some additional props to decorate with, and Bella's bakery was open for business. Except Bella ignored it, heading straight to the windowsill. Usually she's very curious, but I guess she didn't want to miss an opportunity to sunbathe. Eventually the catnip donuts were too hard to resist, giving the crates a headbutt of approval. And soon she plonked her butt down inside. I think I need to get her a chair or something. You can't quite see her over the counter. She's going to end up with no customers. Before long, she jumped onto the counter. I'm going to go for the blue one. Can I have this please, Bella? Nope. That was some very poor customer service. In all fairness though, she's well beyond retirement age and seemed to prefer tasting donuts to selling them. Oh, and you can still get Bella's Bakery t-shirts from halfasleepchris.com. The link's down below.